Welcome to SVG-TV News for Wednesday, September 14th, 2016. I am Jennifer Richardson with the details. In 2013, St. Vincent and the Grenadines was placed among several Caribbean countries with the highest rate of teenage pregnancy. This year, coordinator of the National Family Planning Department in the Ministry of Health, Wellness and the Environment, Arleta Scott, expressed her elation that there has been a decrease in the number of teenage pregnancies in the country, with only 279 recorded cases in 2015 compared to the 341 cases in 2014.
Along the line, whatever the ministry or the people of St. Vincent is actually doing is actually working, because the stats from 1996 come right down to 2015. That would have been the lowest in basically like 20 years, 19 plus years. So we were at a total of like, started out 1996, we had like 453 teenage pregnancy. And if you were to compare it right now to last year, 279, we really went down a lot. So the thoughts are that whatever we are doing, it's actually working to some extent. Yeah.
Scott outlined that young girls can fall victim to teenage pregnancy because of peer pressure and a lack of good parental guidance. Urged parents to not be naive but to talk to their children regularly about relationships and sex.
Thing that we would like the public of Vincentian to know is that if you have a child who is sexually active, don't play naive. And that's the thing, we count ourselves as being very religious, so we have our child, we know they're sexually active, but we still refuse to actually come to grip that they are sexually active. So you would want person not to be naive. You know your child is sexually active, you can talk to somebody who's in charge, talk to the nurse, talk to somebody who you know can help, and you can actually get the help, because if you have a 15-year-old who you know for sure is sexually active, why deny the child the rights of protection?
She then used the opportunity to advise teen parents to remain positive and encourage those who are coerced into growing up in a society where becoming a teen parent is a norm to avoid getting pregnant at all costs.
Those who are pregnant, be positive, think positive, and continue their education. And for those who are not, try as much as not to get pregnant. And if you know you're sexually active, as you were to say, use a condom or use a family planning method that can actually prevent you from getting pregnant until you reach the age where you think you are ready for pregnancy.
Meanwhile, health psychologist and wellness consultant at the Milton Caton Memorial Hospital, Dr. Giselle Miller, said although the number of teenage pregnancies has dropped, it remains an immense problem for the country, as becoming a teen parent brings complete life changes for the individual.
It is a really big problem, because when you look at a 13, 14, 15-year-old having a child, you understand that the future has already been distorted, because it is not going to remain the same. Even if you go back into the school system, this is now an emancipated minor, because in some respects you are regarded as an adult. You have a child, but yet you go back to school and you should be treated like a child. And you find that there's an incongruency, because what happens now is that these teenagers feel a sense of entitlement to say, I'm an adult, and they want to act that way, but yet still they want to remain in the confines of the school system where all the other kids are there, and you don't know exactly how to negotiate what is happening there.
Miller also noted that she is of the belief that teen parents should not go back into the mainstream schooling, but be placed in an institution designed for teen mothers, in particular, where they can share a connection with their child.
No matter the age, they I mean, if you are a minor and you became pregnant, you should be placed in a system that caters for your needs, because you are now in a specific bracket. You make up a population now that is different from your peers who is in school and remained in school. So you want to be in a situation, and persons, shy away from the idea of segregation or, putting them by themselves because you're going to stigmatize them or discriminate or whatever. But at the end of the day, they have something that connects them together, and which is a child. So there's an understanding in terms of how you need to approach them. There's an understanding in what they need to learn. There's an understanding that it can't be just about the academics, but it's about how do you care for your child? How do you move on from here and be an adult that can contribute not only to your child's life, but to turn your life around and make sure that you can accomplish something.
She also encouraged the youth to not try to rush their growth, as the things of the world will come at the right time.
Take your time to grow. I mean, sex and all of these things, if we live to see another 10, 15, 20 years, it's still going to be there. Take your time, set goals, set your priorities, and, put things in perspective. You want to achieve something for yourself, focus on you now. Later on, all of these things can come.
As the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, through its education ministry, aims to enhance literacy and numeracy throughout the state, a call is being made for the education of the nation's youth to be seen as a social responsibility. The call came from Deputy Speaker of the House of Assembly and founder of the Generation Next Incorporated, Carlos James, in his address at the 3rd Annual Access to College Education Program, the ACEP, yesterday. James, who was commenting on ways to address the issues of enhancing literacy and numeracy in schools, noted that there needs to be more active involvement by the society, especially from the parents.
It's really not just up to the Ministry of Education alone to ensure that we have, but we need greater support from the communities to ensure that we improve on the students' performances, but also we need to have a greater role with the PTA, the administrative personnel in the Ministry of Education, and also the teaching staff at the schools. Bringing the mathematics teachers together within the constituency and having, principals, meetings and so on to see how we can, plug that and address those issues. These are some of the remedial things that we can put in place. We also need to see a greater, relationship between the teachers, ensuring that children go to school, when they get home they're off social media and they're in their books, as well as having a greater support to the teaching staff. Teachers who continue to volunteer to roll out programs, after school initiatives as well, to see how we can have greater remedial programs in place in the communities.
James also pointed out that there needs to be a greater response and support to the nation's educational development, not only by organizations such as Generation Next Incorporated, but by the business community as well.
Most of the funding from this initiative are actually from the law firm of Carlos James here in St. Vincent. But we need to see more business communities getting involved, primarily in areas where there's high levels of vulnerability. You're talking about in North Leeward, in North Windward areas where there's hotbeds of unemployment, social issues and so on. But we have to do our part, and when I speak of we, I make mention of Generation X in supporting the government's overall policy of access to universal primary, secondary education, and as well as ensuring that we have more students going off to university and college and so on here in St. Vincent.
Opposition MP for the Southern Grenadines, Terence Oliver, is of the opinion that to solve a problem, close attention must first be paid to what causes that problem. Oliver, who was a host on the New Times radio program yesterday, was commenting on a recent issue in his constituency, where 14 students of the Union Island Secondary School were reportedly expelled for poor performances and their ages. Referencing the OECS Statistical Digest of the academic years 2012 to 2013 and 2013-2014, the MP said that SVG had the highest rate of repeaters, both at the primary and secondary level in the OECS region. And the particular students at the Union Island Secondary School have repeated as much as twice. Olivier stressed that the issue could have been caught at an early stage with sufficient time for the implementation of solutions had the Ministry of Education been keeping a closer eye on the situation at the institution.
Paper where the Prime Minister is saying that he has to find out why students in St. Vincent and the Grenadines are not meeting the required standards of education. And he was saying that some schools are underperforming. He went on to say the amount of money that is being spent by this government in education. And he questioned whether it is quality teaching, song parenting, or what other issues there may be. Let's look at the Union Island Secondary School. Okay, for example. If you had regular visits from the Ministry of Education, wouldn't they have known of the problem?
True.
At the Union Island Secondary School, in terms of students repeating. Do you know in one of the farms, only one child, in one of the farm 4s, which had 24 students, only one child passed?
Pointing out that the staff at the school had to be aware of what was going on with the students, the MP outlined that when it comes to the betterment of the nation's youth, persons cannot be one-sided, especially politically.
I've been trying to call the Ministry of Education. When they called, because when they came to me, I said, listen, this thing pertains, what is happening pertains to the development of your child and your child welfare. The first place that you should address this matter is at the Ministry of Education. The person who put it on social media, who's also a teacher of the school, where should he have addressed his concern to? Where is the first place should his concern be addressed? Shouldn't it be to his
principal,
his superior? And if you know such and such were happening, what were you doing? Or is it that you want to take it and make it a political football because you have political interests? So you're trying to blow it out of proportion instead of addressing it at the source.
Olivier further added that the ministry needed to develop a strategic approach to tackling the issue of poor performers and frequent repeaters throughout the state.
You talk about effective teaching and all of that. Some of the people in our secondary schools, they don't have training in pedagogy. That is, different methods you can use in forms of teaching, this, that. Do we organize in-service training in order to help the teachers who, yes, you have your degree, you have your associate degree, you have your first degree and all of this, but you may not have the techniques, as I said, the training in pedagogy. You from a ministry perspective, organize assistance for these teachers in these schools in order to improve their teaching methods, in order to better able to reach our students. And then, of course, if you know you have so many repeaters in a school, and you have people along this age, a certain age, yes, who are not performing, what did you do, even from a ministry point of view, to help reach some of these students?
Meantime, pointing out that the issue of high rates of repeaters exists in all schools throughout the nation, MP for the Northern Grenadines, Dr. Godwin Friday, is calling for better measures to ensure that all the nation's youth are given the opportunity to access their education. Friday, who was also a host on yesterday's radio program, noted that a proper education was one of the most important things that can be granted to a child. Hence, the reason why the issue of poor performers and repeaters must be taken seriously.
Talk glibly about, universal secondary education, everybody going to school and so on, but I warned back then too, I said, you're going to have all these people entering into the system. Your figures looking good because now you have universal secondary education. But you're going to be warehousing most of those children. I'm not saying that every teacher has the resources to be able to stimulate the child. The point is the child can learn.
Yes.
And so we have to find ways in which, and it's a difficult job. My wife is a school teacher. I know. I see how she agonizes about it and so on, because you don't want any child to fail.
True.
And you should never give up on a child while they're in the institution, And to just keep them there, which is what is happening in the secondary schools, you keep them there 2 years in Form 1, 2 years in Form 2, 2 years in Form 3, and eventually, you know, they're looking around and their kids who are 4 or 5 years younger than them, and they don't feel comfortable and they don't want to come to school. It causes disruptions, and they say, okay, out you go.
Friday called for the recommitment of the government as well as the teaching fraternity in ensuring a resolution to these volatile issues.
Not at the end when you have the results saying that it's deplorable, when you have the results saying that half the class or more than half the class has failed. In fact, you have sometimes entire classes fail. Go into the classrooms, get the people who are involved in delivering the training, those who are involved in supervising, you know, get into the classroom. We've lost a lot of time because you had all the grand talk and the posturing and the propagandizing by this government about education and making people think that there's something good really happening, when in fact what is happening is we have a situation where the resources are not being put in place, where you have introduced universal secondary education without proper preparation. If coming in makes them no different from being out, then what is the point?
President of the Teachers Union, Oswald Robinson, is applauding the Public Service Commission for reinstating Fancy Government School Principal Colbert Bowens. On January 12, 2015, 7 students died in a van owned by Bowens in the Rock Gutter Fancy area when it skidded off the road and plunged into the sea. Bowens was suspended from his post in November of 2015 after the coroner's inquest found him culpable in the deaths of the 7 students in the Rock Gutter accident. However, the charges were withdrawn on May 4th of this year. On Monday, 5th September 2016, the Teachers Union issued a release calling for the return of Bowens to his position as head teacher, and the next day, the Public Service Commission reinstated him, and he returned to work on Monday, the 12th September. President of the Teachers Union, Oswald Robinson, in an interview with SVG-TV News, says that it is important for the school to get back to a sense of normalcy and called on persons to be more forgiving towards each other.
So for the benefit of the children, I think all parties need to forgive. As Jesus said, when we forgive, we have to forget. You can't forgive and still leave the tail of the dog exposed. You know, when you bury a dog, you bury everything. And when you forgive, you have to forget. You can't forgive and say you're feeding somebody with a long spoon. And we're living in a society that we call a Christian society. So I am appealing to the teachers to work together with the principal. Yes, we are human beings, and every now and then we would flash back. We would reflect on something that would have been tragic in that community. But at the same time, we have to move on. We have to take the school to a next level. And I want everybody, all parties, the parents and everybody to just work together and cooperate.
Robinson also reminded teachers that the union is there to provide representation and called on educators to make the union aware of the issues affecting them.
The trade union has a role to play. Regardless to which side you're on, that doesn't matter. It's to represent the worker and to go all the way for social and economic justice. And that is what we have done, and we are very happy that the Service Commission would have responded and to reinstate him. The next step, we have to look and to monitor exactly what is going to happen. If there is need for him to go to another school, it has to be at a reasonable distance from his home. Okay? So that is something we are willing to discuss with the relevant authorities to ensure that the school goes back to normalcy, the students are settled, and that all parties are happy with whatever solution comes out of this experience.
Officials of the Ministry of Transport and Works, DIPCON Engineering and other stakeholders are assuring the public, specifically residents on the leeward side, that road repairs will be completed shortly. They stated while the project is experiencing some setbacks, it will not hinder the quality of the final product. Nolisha Miller has more in this report.
Leeward Highway project is expected to be completed in early 2017 after years of complaints from road users and residents of terrible road conditions and dust. Today, project manager of Dipcon Engineering, Patrick LaForce, told SVG-TV News that the project, which commenced on August 14, 2014, was initially estimated for a time frame of 21 months, but because of several delays, the initial completion date had to be extended.
Some of the delays would have been the amount of variations and SIs would have came up, that was not originally part of the original project. So that would have been some of the things that would have extended the project, these variations and SIs.
LaForce noted 75% of the work was now complete. Meantime, resident engineer Whitfield Clark pointed out that while the project had suffered for several reasons, these factors also afforded opportunities to enhance the project.
This wall, as you can see, is one of the windows of opportunity that we've had. In that when we first started, as you would recall, there was a bus stop not far from here, and it was collapsed. It was a small collapse, and over time that progressively increased into larger and larger collapses. And so we then decided that we would not only construct this wall, but make provision for a lay-by and a bus stop will be going here as well to benefit the people of St. Vincent. So we took opportunities wherever we could to enhance the project in general, and this obviously will have resulted in increased time.
He added that the project, which has seen the employment of over 100 persons, also sought ways in which to benefit local businesses, noting work was put on pause when there was shortage of materials, which eventually led them to import from neighboring islands.
But we tried as best as possible to facilitate the local suppliers. And I think in going this route, we try to delay as much as possible so that they can benefit. But in the end, we had to just go to importing aggregate from overseas, and right now we're bringing aggregate from St. Lucia so that we will be able to get this project in, as soon as possible.
He hinted that there are talks of extending the project beyond the community of Layu, and if this was to materialize, Vincentians will benefit greatly. Project coordinator within the Ministry of Transport and Works, Alistair Campbell, said while the need for more materials has been recognized, an increase in the workforce would translate into increased rate of progress. When asked about the end results Vincentians should look forward to, Clark assured that commuters would soon forget the present hassle of their daily travel.
For the time I've been here, I think I've heard a number of complaints about the quality of the pavement, in that the people had to replace shocks, tires, to take a long time to get to town and the business, and that in essence usually has a negative effect on the economy. I think when this is completed, the time to get to town would be significantly shorter because you have to dodge less potholes. I think the driving comfort would be better as well.
The initial cost of the project, which was estimated at approximately 25 million EC dollars, has since hiked because of additional works. Nolisha Miller, The Evening News.
15 persons were taken to the Milton Cater Memorial Hospital when minivan HQ229 driven by the Lexford Horn overturned this morning at the Bridgetown Public Road near Minister Frederick Stevenson's residence. Reports indicate that the minivan known as Scully was traveling towards Kingstown when it overturned, injuring 15 of the passengers, none seriously. Among the injured passengers was Sergeant Honestly Roban. Police are investigating the matter. The government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, through the Ministry of Agriculture, will continue its support to the banana growers of St. Vincent and the Grenadines by providing crop insurance for growers of bananas and plantains. Growers, therefore, can expect to be adequately insured and compensated for windstorm damage to their farms to the period 2016-2017. For the past two insurance years, 2014 and 2015, the government paid an accumulated amount of EC $445,000 to Windcrop for crop insurance for banana farmers and have again insured the entire 2016-2017 banana and planting crop. Chief Executive Officer of the Carnival Development Corporation, Ashford Wood, says he is already anticipating Vincimas 2017. Wood said with the major developments taking place in the country, such as the near completion of the Argyle International Airport, Vincimas 2017 is expected to be quite a celebration with an anticipated influx of visitors.
I am very confident we are going to be seeing visitors touching down at the Argyle International Airport. So what we are trying to do here, and this is being led from the ministerial level as well, we're trying to start early promotions as early as November in the diaspora, where we push the idea, hey, this is the 40th anniversary of June-July Mass, and we are going to be encouraging our people as well as other visitors to come home and touch down at the Argyle International Airport for your first carnival and come join the celebration with us.
Meantime, Woods attempted to set the record straight on the financial standing of the CDC. His comments came after he received a call from a local radio station owner and promoter questioning him on matters coming out of the recently held Carnival Symposium. Beg your pardon. Expressing his annoyance with the telephone conversation, Wood reiterated that the CDC does not get involved in the operation of bars.
You're going to find a figure, and we're talking when you're doing up the audited statements, the financial and the audited statements, you would find a figure for rental of stage, you would find a figure for rental of rails, you would find a figure for rental of food bars. So you're not going to see something there mark in the statement mark rental of bars or deposit from bars. It would simply come under rentals, and all of them would be lumped together. So this nonsense I'm hearing on radio, and interestingly, shortly before you came, I was approached on it again, is, I just want to repeat, CDC does not run bars. We rent bars, and the figure reflected would come under rentals.
2017 will mark the 40th anniversary of the June-July Vinci Mass.